Hello, uranium friends. So let's check in on some stuff because we've got at least a pivot now to work off. So we'll take a look at these ETFs: URA, URNM, URNJ, Nukes, and UKZ. So I don't have to go any deeper right now than these daily charts at the moment. And we can see that daily consolidation has started, as I did tweet today. I also tweeted that I took some uranium puts, URNM puts, on this particular day, on the beginning of daily consolidation. Buyers stepped in, then they smacked it down again. So those uranium URNM puts are working well. I took some trims today, and we'll see where it goes from there. I pretty much have made my entries very low risk. So if the trade fails, which means it gets above these highs before September, and I haven't trimmed out more, it'll probably end up being a small loss at best. So anyway, regardless of that, so these ETFs in a sense are doing the same thing. URA and Nukes a little bit different, right? So they're going to have your ACOs and your SMRs in them, whereas URNM and URNJ do not. So and I posted about the ratio chart with Urnm against Nukes, and the question was, should we look to be rotating into miners? Well, I'm going to look to see if there's rotation in the miners, and if there is, then maybe I will be more apt to be more miner focused. But at the moment, there's no reason to. OCLO, SMR, all-time highs, consolidating near those highs. No reason to be looking anywhere else. So strength begets strength, and that is the case. So for URNM, first warning sign will be 39.22, saying, okay, now we've got a little bit more of a deeper correction that will probably end up being a weekly stair-step pattern break. I'll tell you right now if it is. Yeah, so that would be a break on the weekly there. So that would start weekly consolidation, which would probably end up we'd have to start seeing what happens at 36, which is probably something to be looking at over here. Let's see what 36 looks like. Yeah, so right in here. So this is a nice little base at 36. And we've got our rising 50 EMA and 50-day moving average coming up to that level. I'm considering that a pretty decent spot of support. So starting to come into here, 37, 36, we should start to see support. If it blows through that, there's not a lot down here to hold it up. So, stops are going to get triggered, especially if we lose this level here, in my opinion. This is where stops will really start to get triggered. That level coincides with URNM over here. URNM has done it already. Like, this is actually broken down below the 12 EMA and closed below the 12 EMA. So, good pick on my part for the short. Not really a short, it's a hedge, right? So, before everybody gets their panties in a bunch, I don't really short the sector that much, but I do hedge. Parabolic moves. No one's gonna tell me that it's not a good idea, at least to hedge. So, trail up stops, take some profits, maybe roll into some puts as hedges. So, closed below the 12 EMA. Urnj has kind of closed below it too. It's fighting to stay above it, much better. And Nuke's far, far above. So Nuke's still standing out the strongest in the ETF world. All right. So take that as you will as far as these are concerned. These are just daily charts right now. They are creating a pivot. I want to see a little bit more, couple days of action, and then I'll be running some fibs, and then I'll be able to really start making what I think will be buy targets for the buy the dip targets. And a lot is going to depend on broad market. We all know the broad market is absolutely on fire. The most hated rally in the history of stocks. But that's what it is. We can't sit there and try to predict. Anyway, I'm going to try not to go on a lot of rants. So no LTBR right now. Australian uranium. I don't even want to look at that garbage. Okay, so CCJ. Weekly chart, right? So you got a monster weekly move off these April lows. And there's no signs of slowing down, right? So CCJ to me is like trading wants it like it wants to go to 100. It's had this weekly megaphone and it broke it, man. So that's actually a pretty good deal. So this megaphone pattern, I can keep it for now, especially this trend line, and the trend line looks pretty good in that. Um, a back test on that trend line would be fantastic. So that's probably a buy zone in here in a 67 area. Depending on, of course, depending on action. Always depending on action. So CCJ, has it seen daily consolidation? Very little. It's still just riding the 12 EMA up. I will preface this, and you guys who watch my videos know enough that when these moving averages get stretched like this, especially away from the 200-day moving average all the way at $54, some reconciliation, at least maybe into this area, that's 67 area. It's possible, right? So the dynamic with CCJ now is that there's a lot of institutional ownership at this point. So even when there's buys and sells and whatnot, it's going to move. The tradable float has changed. Someone who knows how to look at these things, I'm sure, will be able to pull up the exact numbers. I don't need to. I can just tell, right? So, but it's Gap City down here. So these are all targets at some point for bears whenever things start to cool off. So, take it with a grain of salt. Take it however you want. We're starting to get some pretty heavy duty RSI divergence. Now, if you don't know what it looks like, let's just draw this little trend line here, right? RSI divergence. You take it from that point, you've got this trend line there, right? It's sloppy. I'm not trying to get crazy with it. But that's the deal. Pretty heavy duty RSI divergence. So let's see if the weekly has it. Not really. Okay, but it's hot, right? So it's running into historical RSI levels on the weekly, which is just another thing to be chalking up into let me be cautious category. All right, so that's the deal. DNN, Denison, right? ISR mining, boss just got crushed with that. So, does it bleed over into these bigger board Western names, the North American names? Daily consolidation has started here, but the buyers have been stepping in all throughout this area, right? So 214, I tweeted this as well at some point. 214 was a pretty big level to get over. And I could just show you why I say that. Because look at all this interactions at 214, right? So this is the spot. So a back testing of that little technical breakout, it makes some sense, right? But good volume profile here to hold this up in this area. But, consolidation here or anywhere in here all the way down into this $180, $2 range, perfectly healthy, perfectly fine. Anybody who wants to see a continuation of these moves wants to see that. So Denison is starting daily consolidation. The buyers are stepping in. Let me just tell you. Let me just see if there's anything volume wise. Yeah, nothing crazy volume even on this hourly chart, right? So it's above the 20-day period moving average, whatever, but nothing special. Okay, so Denison is just grinding along, and if it does something like this over here, that's going to give it some cool things off down here, give it some juice for the next leg up, to kind of contest this 240 area. That's the way I view it. We'll see. Encore Energy, same deal, right? The whole space looks similar, but Encore is getting some consolidation as well. The United States players are getting the love, right? So the Trump administration is kind of favorable for this stuff. We're trying to secure uranium enrichment, whatnot. You got Chris Wright from the board of Aquo that's on the is the Secretary of Energy. So there's a lot of good things in the United States government that are going on right now that favors U.S. producers or near producers or mining regulations. They're talking about maybe easing up on that. We'll have to see how that plays out, right? So, but again, here with Encore, same deal as Denison. The buyers have been kind of stepping in on all of these dips, right? So, but it is still starting to make lower lows. So, daily consolidation underway here as well. See what happens when it comes down into this base. That it just this little pivot that it formed, right? So we'll just take it from there, right? So this is just let's take a look at the weekly. Does it tell me anything? Yeah, it's just straight up, right? So not unreasonable to see a test into this area, this 250, 245 area. Not unreasonable to see that at all. All these guys are coming into earnings within the next month or two, so that's always a gamble. We'll see how that plays out. Next big board, miner only. NextGen, Praise Keck loves these guys. But whatever, they're following the script and not nearly as well as the others, right? So you just have to see how it plays out. This is a dilution machine, a lifestyle company, whatever you want to call it, with one of the best deposits in the world. So one would think and surmise at some point they are a target for M&A. Remains to be seen. Either way, the weekly is doing its thing. Lots of support right down here in the 630 area, even up to the 680 area. So in this base, right, which coincides with all this support, coincides with all this support, coincides with all this support. You getting what I'm saying here? So, these levels, they become important, even for people who think that technical analysis is astrology for men or whatever you guys call it. It's fine with me. You follow me long enough, I'm doing pretty well. I'm picking these markets and timing them at a decent rate. So that's on you to decide what you want to do. Next gen daily consolidation underway, perfectly healthy. All you want to do is see something like this, right? Maybe just get some consolidation, cool things off to get the next leg. That's what we're looking for across the space. UEC, heck of a move, right? So again, United States producers, and everybody can say whatever they want about this CEO, but the stock has performed, is performing, and likely will continue to perform. Got to watch this monthly rising wedge into all-time highs. See how it plays, right? So, but there's room here. There's room on the RSI. Let's see what the weekly is. Yeah. This is nowhere near to being into historical weekly RSI levels for UEC. So, I view it as more gas in the tank. I view it as no problem until it kind of breaks down below this 5, below 6. 6 is a problem, right? So 6 you have to be wary about, and maybe even a little bit lower than that, right? So moving average stacks, just getting their reversals to curl up and start making their crosses bodes well for the name. UEC is trading very, very well. Very well. This is a great move. One has to expect that there will be consolidation. What type of consolidation is it? And how deep it is another story. I have $7 calls expiring in August 15th. I tried to make a roll today, and it's just the order never went through. So we'll see. 5x in those right now. So, and I've trimmed out a good portion of them to get completely risk-free. So we'll see how that plays. I am going to try to roll them if I get the opportunity. We'll see. URG, again, United States testing some pretty big level here, this $1.40 area. I think there was some sort of upgrade today. I think the price target was like $3. I'm like, wow. Yeah, that gets it close to testing all-time highs, but chart-wise, it looks okay. It's just a monthly stair step every single month, higher highs, higher lows, right? So Anybody who's a long-term player, because they have jobs, they can't trade. I'm not a day trader. Well, you can play these stair steps, right? Many ways to do it, right? Same thing with the weekly, constantly making higher lows and higher highs. There's no reason um, to exit something like this unless you want to take some profits along the way. I tend to do that sort of thing. To each their own. But there's no reason to fully exit a name like this. Some may say, all right, weekly consolidation begins them out. I have to see what it looks like there. But you as long as it's holding up, just gonna ride the wave until the wave tells me not to ride it anymore. The 4Us, they're getting love out of the rare earths, and now anyone who follows me knows I'm all about the boxes here, right? And I've said there's a case to be made that this is a box in of itself in between these two boxes. So nasty little fake false breakdown here on the boxes. Regained the box, and now it's coming up to a spot where it notoriously rejects. So that would be something that I'm keeping an eye on, right? So if it doesn't reject here, if it gets through, well, is that something that's changed for this name that we haven't seen since April? Even longer, right? The last time it's been above that box is July of 2012, 13 years ago. So this is a 13-year resistance zone that it is once again testing. Just pay attention. I mean, that's important, right? You looks great. All right, it's getting the rare earth love, and I remember everybody saying the rare earths, that's stupid, blah blah blah. Same thing they said about CCJ buying Westinghouse, right? So if you're listening to these mining only nut jobs, you're doing it wrong. Devil is over and out.